the legend of Mount Nyoka, nestled in the verdant plains of Tanzania. The village of Kwetu flourished at the foot of Mount Nyoka, a towering peak shrouded in mist and mystery. The villagers believed the mountain to be sacred, a realm protected by the spirit of Mamba Mkuu, the great serpent. Its serpentine trails and lush surroundings provided fertile lands and abundant water, allowing the people to thrive for generations. But alongside its blessings, the mountain carried a shadow of fear. Legends passed down by elders told of Mamba Mkuu's dual nature, kind and generous to those who respected the mountain, but merciless to those who exploited its bounty. The balance between man and nature was fragile, and this truth had long been forgotten by many in Kwetu. One year, the skies over Kwetu turned cruel. The rains that once nourished the land failed, and the river that flowed from Mount Nyoka dwindled into a mere trickle. Crops withered under the blazing sun, and the livestock grew thin and weak. The villagers, who had always lived in harmony with the mountain, began to despair. As hunger tightened its grip, murmurs of discontent spread through the village. The elders called a meeting in the central square, where they debated the cause of their suffering. "The spirit of Mamba Mkuu must be angry," one elder proclaimed. "We must appease the great serpent or face ruin." The villagers, desperate for relief, reluctantly agreed. Among the villagers was Shani, a young woman known for her keen mind and unshakable courage. Orphaned as a child, she had been raised by her grandmother, Bibi Amani, who filled her with tales of the old ways and the wisdom of living in harmony with the land. Shani had always questioned the village's blind fear of Mamba Mkuu. When the elders announced that a human offering, a child, would be made to appease the serpent spirit, Shani could no longer remain silent. "This is wrong," she declared, her voice ringing clear over the murmurs of the crowd. "The spirit does not need sacrifices. We have forgotten how to care for the mountain, and now we are paying the price." Shani's words caused a stir among the villagers. Some nodded in agreement, while others shook their heads, too afraid to challenge tradition. The eldest of the council, Mzee Baraka, spoke sternly. "Shani, you are young and do not understand the ways of the spirit. If you believe you can solve this crisis, then climb Mount Nyoka and face Mamba Mkuu yourself." Though his words were meant to silence her, Shani stood tall. "I will," she said without hesitation. "I will climb the mountain, speak to the spirit, and find a way to restore balance. But I will not allow an innocent life to be sacrificed in fear." Her resolve was unshaken, and the villagers reluctantly gave her their blessings. The night before her journey, Shani sat with her grandmother, who handed her a small pouch filled with herbs and powders. "These are the blessings of our ancestors," Bibi Amani said. "They will protect you on your path. But remember, true strength comes from within. Speak to the spirit with courage and wisdom, and it will hear you." Shani spent the rest of the evening in quiet meditation, watching the flickering flames of the village fire. The path ahead was fraught with danger, but she felt a deep sense of purpose. At dawn, she bid her grandmother farewell and began her ascent up the misty trails of Mount Nyoka, armed only with her spear, the herb pouch, and her unshakable resolve. Climb was arduous from the very beginning. The narrow paths wound through thick forests where the air grew colder with each step. Shadows danced between the trees, and the silence was broken only by the rustling of leaves and distant calls of unseen creatures. Shani kept her focus, her grandmother's teachings echoing in her mind. As she climbed higher, the mist thickened, obscuring her view of the trail. Suddenly, a low hiss reached her ears. She froze, gripping her spear tightly. Out of the fog emerged a snake, its scales glistening like polished stone. It slithered across her path, pausing to look at her before disappearing into the underbrush. Shani took it as a sign. Mamba Mkuu was watching. As Shani continued her ascent, she began to hear whispers carried on the wind. They were faint at first, like the rustling of leaves, but soon they grew louder, forming words. "Turn back, child," the voices warned. "The mountain is not for the likes of you." The whispers seemed to come from all around, filling the air with an eerie presence. But Shani was not easily swayed. "I will not turn back," she said aloud, her voice steady. "I climb this mountain not for myself, but for my people." Her defiance silenced the whispers, and the forest seemed to hold its breath as she pressed on. After hours of climbing, Shani emerged into a clearing where an ancient stone altar stood. The altar was weathered and covered in moss, but its purpose was clear. It was the site of countless offerings made to Mamba Mkuu. Bones of animals and remnants of grain lay scattered around it, a haunting reminder of the village's sacrifices. Shani knelt before the altar, not to offer tribute, but to reflect. "Great Spirit of the mountain," she said, her voice firm, yet respectful. "I come not as an enemy, but as a seeker of truth. If you are here, reveal yourself so that we may speak." The air grew still, and the ground beneath her trembled as a low rumble echoed through the mist. From the shadows of the clearing emerged a massive serpent, its scales shimmering like liquid silver, and its eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. The creature coiled around the altar, its immense form both majestic and terrifying. "Who dares disturb my domain?" it hissed, its voice resonating like thunder. "I am Shani of Kwetu," she replied, standing her ground. "I seek to end the suffering of my people and restore balance to the land. I come not with fear, but with respect, and I ask you to hear my plea." The serpent regarded her with piercing eyes, its expression unreadable. "You are brave, child," it said, "but bravery alone will not save you." The great serpent uncoiled itself, towering over Shani like a moving mountain. "You speak of restoring balance," it hissed, "but balance is not easily won. If you wish to save your people, you must first prove your worth through 3 trials. Each will test your strength, wisdom, and courage. Fail, and your village will remain cursed." Shani's heart raced, but she held her ground. "I accept your challenge, Mamba Mkuu," she said firmly. The serpent's eyes gleamed with approval. "Very well. The first trial awaits you beyond the grove of whispers. Step forward, if you dare." With that, the spirit vanished into the mist, leaving Shani alone in the eerie clearing. Shani entered the grove, where the trees were twisted and gnarled, their branches forming an intricate canopy. The air was thick with whispers, each voice murmuring doubts and fears. "You are too weak," one voice taunted. "You will fail, and your people will perish," another sneered. The voices grew louder, pressing against her like a storm. Closing her eyes, Shani took a deep breath. She remembered her grandmother's teachings. Fear is only as strong as you allow it to be. She began to hum a song Bibi Amani had taught her, its melody drowning out the whispers. Slowly, the grove grew silent, and a path appeared before her, leading to the next trial. The path led Shani to a shimmering lake that seemed endless, its surface as smooth as glass. But as she approached, the water turned black, and shadowy figures began to emerge. These figures took on familiar forms. Her parents, her friends, and even her younger self. Each figure spoke in her voice, accusing her of abandoning them. Shani hesitated, guilt tugging at her heart. But then she remembered why she was there. "These shadows are not real," she said aloud. "I carry the love of my people in my heart, and that is enough." With those words the shadows dissolved, and the lake returned to its tranquil state. A golden boat appeared, waiting to carry her across. On the other side of the lake, Shani found herself standing before a massive cave. Inside, her footsteps echoed endlessly, creating a cacophony of sound that made it hard to think. As she ventured deeper, the echoes began to form words, mocking her every step. "You are alone," they said. "No one will remember your sacrifice." Shani stopped and listened closely. Beneath the noise, she heard another sound, a faint, steady rhythm. It was her own heartbeat, a reminder of her resilience. Focusing on that rhythm, she silenced the echoes and found her way out of the cave. The air outside was crisp and clear, signaling the end of the second trial. Emerging from the cave, Shani found herself in a field of glowing flowers. In the center of the field stood a crystal pillar, radiating golden light. The voice of Mamba Mkuu filled the air. "For your final trial, you must touch the pillar, but beware. The light will test the purity of your intentions." As Shani approached the pillar, the light grew blinding, and memories of her life flashed before her. She saw moments of doubt, fear, and anger, but also acts of kindness, bravery, and love. "I am not perfect," she whispered, "but I am enough." With that, she reached out and touched the pillar. The light enveloped her, warm and forgiving. The light faded, and Shani found herself back in the clearing where she had first met Mamba Mkuu. The serpent reappeared, its massive form coiling gracefully around the altar. "You have passed the trials," it said, its voice carrying a tone of reverence. "You have shown strength, wisdom, and courage beyond your years. Your people are fortunate to have you." Shani knelt before the spirit, overwhelmed by emotion. "Thank you, Mamba Mkuu. I will carry your message to my village and ensure we honor the balance between man and nature." The serpent nodded. "Go now, Shani of Kwetu. The mountain will once again bless your land, but remember, true harmony requires constant care." As Shani began her descent down the mountain, the mist that had once obscured the trails began to lift. The forest seemed more alive, with birdsong filling the air and streams flowing freely once more. Shani felt a deep connection to the land, as if the mountain itself had embraced her as its own. When she reached the base of Mount Nyoka, the villagers were waiting anxiously. Their faces lit up with hope as they saw her approach, carrying a single glowing flower from the field of light. "The curse is lifted," she announced, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "The mountain has forgiven us, but we must change our ways." Under Shani's guidance, the village of Kwetu began a new chapter. The people learned to respect the mountain's resources, taking only what they needed and giving back to the land through rituals of gratitude. The river flowed once more, and the fields grew lush and green, providing food for all. Shani became a leader among her people, her wisdom and bravery earning her the respect of the elders and villagers alike. She taught them not to fear Mamba Mkuu, but to honor the spirit as a guardian of their land. Her actions united the village, creating a harmony that had been lost for generations. Shani gathered the elders and villagers at the base of Mount Nyoka, where she recounted her trials and the wisdom she had gained from Mamba Mkuu. "The serpent does not wish to harm us," she explained. "It only seeks balance, a harmony we have neglected for too long." The villagers agreed to form a pact with the mountain. Together, they crafted new rituals to honor Mamba Mkuu, including an annual festival of balance, where they celebrated the land's bounty and pledged to live in harmony with nature. Offerings of fruits, grains, and handmade crafts were left at the mountain's base, not out of fear, but as a gesture of respect. Under Shani's guidance, the villagers began reforesting the areas they had once overharvested. They established rules to ensure sustainable farming, fishing, and hunting practices. Children were taught the legends of Mount Nyokai, not as tales of terror, but as lessons of respect and responsibility. Shani also introduced a council of guardians, villagers chosen to oversee the land's well-being. These guardians became intermediaries between the people and the mountain, ensuring the pact with Mamba Mkuu was upheld. Over time, the land flourished and the village grew prosperous once more. The first festival of balance was a grand celebration. Villagers adorned themselves with green and gold, representing the harmony between the earth and the spirit world. Songs and dances echoed through the savannah, and children reenacted Shani's trials as part of the festivities. As the sun set, Shani led the villagers in a procession to the mountain's base. There, she placed a glowing flower from the field of light on an altar. The air seemed to hum with energy, and for a brief moment, the silhouette of Mamba Mkuu appeared in the mist, watching over them. The villagers cheered, feeling the serpent's silent blessing. Over the years, Shani frequently visited the mountain alone, seeking guidance from Mamba Mkuu. The serpent would appear in moments of great need, offering cryptic yet profound wisdom. "Balance is not achieved in a single act," it once told her. "It is a dance, a constant negotiation between giving and taking." Shani shared these lessons with her people, who began to see the mountain not as a source of fear, but as a sacred teacher. The bond between the village and Mamba Mkuu grew stronger, setting an example for neighboring communities. With the mountain's blessings, Kwetu became a beacon of prosperity. The river flowed abundantly, providing water for crops and cattle. The fields yielded rich harvests, and the forests teemed with life. Villagers began trading their surplus with neighboring tribes, fostering alliances and friendships. Shani's reputation spread far beyond Kwetu. Leaders from other villages sought her counsel, eager to learn how to live in harmony with their own lands. She welcomed them warmly, sharing the teachings of Mamba Mkuu and the story of her trials. One fateful night, Mamba Mkuu appeared to Shani in a dream. "The balance is fragile," it warned. "Prosperity can lead to greed. Do not let your people forget the lessons of the past." Shani woke with a heavy heart, realizing the truth of the serpent's words. She called a meeting with the elders and urged them to remain vigilant. Together, they established stricter guidelines to protect the land, ensuring that future generations would inherit a thriving and balanced home. As the years passed, Shani grew older, but remained a pillar of strength for her people. Her hair, once dark as the night sky, turned silver like the moonlight. Though her body aged, her spirit remained unyielding. One evening, Shani called the villagers together beneath the stars. "My time is nearing its end," she said gently. "But the legacy of Kwetu does not rest on my shoulders alone. Each of you carries the responsibility to protect this land and honor the pact with Mamba Mkuu." Shani's granddaughter Amani showed great promise as a leader. Curious and brave, she often accompanied Shani on her visits to the mountain. "Never forget," Shani told her, "that true strength lies in humility and respect for all living things." Before her passing, Shani appointed Amani as the next guardian of Kwetu. The villagers rejoiced, knowing their future was in capable hands. Amani vowed to uphold her grandmother's teachings and strengthen the bond with Mamba Mkuu. When Shani felt her final days approaching, she climbed Mount Nyoka one last time. At the summit, she stood before the altar and called out to Mamba Mkuu. "I have done my part," she said. "Guide my people as you have guided me." The serpent appeared, its form shimmering with light. "You have fulfilled your destiny, Shani of Kwetu," it said. "Your name will echo through the ages." As the first rays of dawn broke over the horizon, Shani closed her eyes and became one with the mountain. The morning after Shani's passing, the villagers awoke to find a field of glowing flowers blooming at the base of Mount Nyoka. They took it as a sign of Mamba Mkuu's blessing and Shani's eternal presence. The flowers became a symbol of hope and resilience, inspiring future generations. Under Amani's guidance, Kwetu continued to thrive. She upheld her grandmother's teachings and worked tirelessly to preserve the balance with Mount Nyoka. Amani introduced new traditions, blending the wisdom of the past with innovations for the future. The Festival of Balance grew into a grand event, attracting visitors from far and wide. Amani ensured that every new generation learned the story of Shani's trials and the pact with Mamba Mkuu. Centuries passed, but the legend of Shani and Mamba Mkuu endured. The villagers of Kwetu became renowned as stewards of the land, their harmony with nature serving as a model for others. The glowing flowers of Mount Nyoka became a sacred pilgrimage site, a reminder of the village's enduring bond with the mountain. In the heart of Kwetu, a statue of Shani was erected, depicting her standing tall with her spear and the glowing flower in hand. The inscription read, "Courage is not the absence of fear, but the strength to face it for the greater good." As the sun set over Mount Nyoka, the serpent's silhouette appeared once more, Watching over the village, the balance remained, a testament to the courage of one woman and the unity of her people. Don't miss this incredible Tanzanian folktale that blends adventure, wisdom, and unforgettable lessons. Watch now to uncover the secrets of Mount Nyoka and the fearless Shani's legacy. Like, comment, and subscribe for more epic African stories.